hello, and welcome to Zipadee Doo Dah Disney, the podcast where we help you make the most of your Disney vacation using tips from experienced people just like you. So sit tight and let's get started. Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Zipadee Doo Dah Disney. I'm your host, Eric Frenchman. And this episode, we're going to call Magic Kingdom Munching. Yes, we're going to talk about all the great places you can eat at the Magic Kingdom. So, few ground rules before we get started. 1, as I just mentioned, we're going to go over the places that I've eaten at over the last 10 plus years. I haven't eaten everywhere, and there could be some reasons why I haven't eaten at some of those places, but we're not going to talk about those. The second thing that you need to keep in mind is that there are about 8 to 9 table service restaurants, depending on what time of year you go, and about 20 other places where you could get, say, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're not talking, we're talking mostly counter service areas, not kiosks. I'll let you know where my favorites are and where you could take your kids. Generally speaking, the better sit-down table service restaurants are not in the park. They're not in the Magic Kingdom Park. They're at the hotels that are nearby. And finally, you don't have anything to worry about. I'm not going to go into excruciating detail on restaurant reviews and what to eat and where to go. I'm going to tell you where I like to go and some of the things that I like to grab, that I'm looking to grab when I'm there. This is sort of a helpful guide to get you started. There's plenty of other great places, websites, books that you could get that have a lot more restaurant reviews. So here's how this episode's going to roll. We're going to talk about eating in the Magic Kingdom in general. We're going to talk about the sit-down restaurants. We're going to talk about where you can go for counter service meals and where you can find some delicious snacks, or at least where I like to go to find some delicious snacks. So, thanks for listening, and let's go on that ride. All right, so let's take a look at how your day would probably progress at the Magic Kingdom to get an idea of how to plan out your day and where I like to eat. The first thing you do when you get to the Magic Kingdom is you're walking down Main Street. And if you haven't already eaten, your first spot will be where I like to eat, is going to be the bakery on Main Street. Okay, that assumes you're not doing, say, the character breakfast at Crystal Palace. You're going to go to the bakery. That's where I like to go. It's also a Starbucks. And guess what? I almost always get breakfast there if I haven't eaten before. And I always get coffee. And guess what? Everybody else is going to Starbucks to get coffee and breakfast. So that's where you're going to start out your day. Now, after you get your coffee and danishes or cupcakes or food, you're going to start walking up Main Street. You're going to have to make a decision, as everybody does. Are you going to go to Fantasyland? You're going to Adventureland? Are you going to go to Tomorrowland? Whichever area you're going to, probably with the exception of Tomorrowland, because there's not, if you got some older kids, there's probably not a whole heck of a lot to do. If you got younger kids, you're probably around lunchtime going to end up in the land, the Magic Kingdom land, where you started. If you got some older kids, or you're adults like me, you might be in the next land over. So when you do that, you're going to miss one of my favorite places to get lunch, which is Casey's. Casey's Corner for hot dogs and fries. Yeah, hot dogs and fries. The hot dogs are big. We'll talk about them later. I really like it. It's at the end of Main Street, kind of right where you would make a left to say head up towards Crystal Palace on that side. So if you're in one of those, most likely to be in one of those two worlds, you're going to have to backtrack if you want to go to Casey's. Then, there's plenty of great places for you later on in the day that get your snacks. Again, you can head back over to Main Street. The odds are you're not going to do that. You're going to, again, be on one of the lands. So the two places I like to hit for snacks, Sleepy Hollow and Gaston's Tavern. But before you do that, make sure you're going to leave plenty of room for dinner, because if you're going to eat in the Magic Kingdom and you're going to get dinner, my favorite place to do a sit down is the character buffet at the Crystal Palace. And that's where we're going to start with our table service tips. All right, depending on what time of year you go, there are like 8 to 9 table service restaurants in the Magic Kingdom. You remember what table service restaurants are, right? Those are your sit downs. And if you're on a Disney dining plan, they're either going to cost you 1 or 2 points. Anyway, lucky for you, I've eaten about 6 of them. Yes, I've eaten about 6 of them over the years. And by far, my favorite place to eat when you're sitting down is the Crystal Palace. You can't go wrong. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The odds are you're probably not going to get there for lunch. I've only been there for lunch one time because I got a late breakfast. And so what happened was I almost got like a bonus round where they flipped breakfast over to lunch. So I got to try out some of their lunch items. Anyway, the food is great. Yeah, it's a buffet. Yeah, those that you know me know I don't usually like buffet dinners of any kind because it just sits out. But these guys do a fantastic job. Plus, you get Winnie the Pooh. You get Tigger. You get that whole crew. They come over to your table. They take pictures. You can take selfies. I got tons of selfies over the years with these guys. So, look, if you're looking for a sit-down place and you got some time, it's Crystal Palace. It begins and ends at the Crystal Palace. It's near the entrance to Adventureland. It's when you're coming up from Main Street. My favorite there at dinner time is the rotisserie chicken, which they do right there in the restaurant, and any of the desserts. Plus, it's Tigger. It's awesome. All right, next up is the Liberty Tree Tavern. It's over in Liberty Square. You're thinking, I don't want it. That doesn't look so great. It's got this colonial feel. It's not that good. You'd be wrong. It's Thanksgiving any time of year. You get Thanksgiving. It's great. You can do it family style. Plus, if you save enough room, you get their ooey gooey toffee cake. Try saying that 3 times fast. Ooey gooey toffee cake. Anyway, it's awesome. It's toffee cake, chocolate sauce, vanilla ice cream. It's delicious. Oh, before I forget, you can get beer in these places. So, and as opposed to the years past, there's no alcohol. You get a little beer and wine, but now you get some beer with your meal. Not bad. Next up is Cinderella's Royal Table. Yes, I'm over 50. Yes, I'm going there again soon. It's the whole atmosphere. You're eating in the castle. It's a prefix dinner menu. You get your pictures with Cinderella. I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest restaurant around for food, but it's pretty good. It's the whole atmosphere. It's magical. You won't regret it, especially if you have kids. If you got daughters, they could be princesses. If you have sons, they could be knights. If you have a daughter like mine that when she was younger, she didn't want to be a princess, she could get a sword too and participate. It's a great time. Next up, we just tried it out this year. It's a Diamond Horseshoe. Again, you can find it in Liberty Square, next to Liberty Tree Tavern. Look, it's been closed for it wasn't open all year round, and when it was, it's usually the busiest time of year, and it was usually like sandwiches. Didn't want to do it. However, this year I made a reservation. It's barbecue. It's your classic barbecue. So you're getting, your barbecued chicken, you're getting your pulled pork, you're getting your classic sides. We enjoyed it. I think it's pretty solid. It wasn't too busy, so it's almost like a little hidden gem now. So you could get in there without having to worry too much about booking way far in advance for your reservation. And finally, my final table service tip is the Plaza, which again is it's coming up Main Street's on the right-hand side. It's near the ice cream store. So it's basically an old-fashioned ice cream restaurant with great burgers, sandwiches, and salads. But, as I mentioned, it's about ice cream. So you get these awesome ice cream sundaes for dessert. I haven't been there for a number of years. Again, it's not because I didn't like it. It's just because it just didn't fit in with my schedule. Because you got to backtrack over towards it. But I think it's awesome. It's always on my list of some place I'd like to try and do. So, those are my sit-down restaurant tips in the Magic Kingdom. Any of these places would be great for children, families of all ages. Let's go into counter service, which is really going to be more for, say, maybe breakfast, not so much breakfast, but really more like lunch, or if you don't want to do a table service, sit down, you can get a good meal there for dinner. All right, let's talk eating counter service in the Magic Kingdom. Most likely, you're going to be eating at these places for lunch. You could probably do it for dinner if you don't want to splurge or you don't want to sit down in the Magic Kingdom. So, unlike the table services, there are even more places for lunch. You can grab lunch at any number of kiosks. Of course, there are the sit-down places, and then there are the counter services. I've eaten a lot of places over the years. And generally speaking, the food at the Magic Kingdom has gotten a lot better. When we first started going there about 10 plus years ago, I thought it was, especially these counter services, were a little bit like McDonald's level quality, and I really didn't enjoy eating there. But the food at the Magic Kingdom has gotten a lot better, as it has in all the parks. No matter what you want, there's always some great choices for you. However, if you're just craving an old-fashioned hot dog and some fries, you got to go to my favorite, and I think almost everyone's favorite, Casey's Corner. Yeah, it's foot-long hot dogs. Yeah, it's probably the same fries you can get elsewhere, except it's my favorite. There's only one downside, and I mean there's only one downside to Casey's. It's towards the front of the park. It's on the corner of Main Street, right across from the ice cream shop, and it's attached to the stores. So you're kind of backtracking towards the front of the park. But if you're coming from, say, Tomorrowland and you're crisscrossing over to Adventureland, it's a good spot. Or if you're in Fantasyland and you're going to track all the way back on the other side. But again, you're most likely backtracking, so that's the only downside. Inside, they got indoor bleacher seating. It's not a lot of them. They're showing some old-fashioned Disney cartoons of sports teams, so that's a lot of fun. But if it's raining or it's kind of cold, those bleacher seats get filled up very quickly. There's also plenty of outdoor seating. There's a piano player, and that's all great. But really, what makes it awesome is what they do with their foot-long hot dogs and their fries. If you want, they load them up with all kinds of different foods. They have different specialty hot dogs. And if you're like me, well, sometimes like me, you want a veggie sausage, and that's on the menu now too. Hasn't always been there. Or I just started recently noticing it because I've been trying to get a little bit more veggies in my body. And I'm guessing it's the Beyond Meat sausage. It may not be, so don't hold me to it. But that's the description. Kind of looks like a Beyond Meat. If it's not, I don't know if Impossible has a veggie burger. But Casey's is great. It's great for all ages. And again, the only downside is you're backtracking. Next up, which is almost the polar opposite of Casey's. And I do get outvoted here quite often, but I always throw it in the mix and try and get my family to go to it. It's the Columbia Harbor House. It's between Fantasyland and Liberty Square, right across the street from the entrance to the Haunted Mansion. I guess because it's seafood or fish related, there's always seems to be plenty of seating. There's upstairs, there's downstairs seating. There's always somebody out, a crier, a town crier, trying to get you to go in. My favorite thing to eat there is their lobster roll. It's a pretty good version. I'm not trying to tell you if you're from Maine or Massachusetts that you aren't going to get a better lobster roll. You better be getting a better lobster roll up there. But it's pretty solid. And it fills you up just enough so that if you want to get snacks later on, you won't be stuffed. I've also had the tuna sandwich, which is pretty good. And the salads and the rest of the wraps also look awesome. So if you're basically tired of burgers and fries or hot dogs and fries and want to try something lighter, this is the place for you. Plus, as I mentioned, it's a great location right on the edge of Fantasyland, head everything to Liberty Square. So it's a good spot. My next up is, believe it or not, the Be Our Guest restaurant. I like it much better for lunch than dinner. Dinner, it's a two-pointer. It's a two-point table service. I think the food is okay, but I think the food is really a one-point level. Yeah, dinner, you're getting pictures with Beast. But if you're going to use 2 points for a sit-down restaurant, I think there's way better places that you could go, especially in the Magic Kingdom area for 2 points. You could use your 2 points at the California Grill, That's over at the Contemporary. You could maybe take in a dinner show with Hoop-de-Doo Review. So basically, I think you're better off holding your 2 points for a table service. Don't use them at Beast Castle, but I think it's way better for lunch. There's beautifully themed rooms. I love the whole atmosphere. They, quote-unquote, magically bring your food to your table. I usually get there. I get the tuna sauce salad. That's really good. I usually get it with a soup. Also, the carved turkey sandwich and the French dip are also pretty good. People always get those. So again, I think the Be Our Guest restaurant is way better place at lunch than it is for dinner. There are a bunch of other popular places besides the next one I'm going to talk about. A lot of people like Pecos Bills, the Cosmic Rays, Tortuga. I'm not usually a big fan of those places. So my final place for lunch, and I usually do also get outvoted for it, is Pinocchio's Village. It's over in Fantasyland. It's connected to It's a Small World. So, and if you're lucky, you get a spot where you could watch It's a Small World ride taking off. So I think that's really cute. It's kind of an Italian-themed style food. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to get there. I mean, you could get the antipasta salad there. It's not the greatest antipasta salad, and it's certainly nothing as good as you could get, say, over in Epcot or any other your local Italian restaurants. But it's pretty solid. I usually get the flatbreads. They're always good. We've always enjoyed it. So, and then again, as I mentioned, it's over in Fantasyland, so it's a decent spot for you to get in and out. So, those are my favorites for lunch. Again, it starts and ends with me with Casey's. I do like the Columbia Harbor House, but I get outvoted. I like Pinocchio's Village House, but I get outvoted on that one. And then the other one that you usually get by with is the Be Our Guest restaurant for lunch only. There are other kiosks. There's some other snack places where you could get food on the go. So, and those are all pretty solid. So don't get me wrong. I've eaten in all of them. You really can't go wrong at lunchtime if that's what you're trying to do. Hopefully, you've saved enough room for some snacks because there's some really great snacks in the Magic Kingdom, and we're going to go through them right now. All right, let's talk about snacks. That is why you came to the Magic Kingdom, isn't it? One of my best tips I can give you right at the start is take a look around and to see what everybody else is eating. Sometimes there's seasonal snacks that you don't get all the time. And if you see something that looks good and you've never seen it before, ask them where they got it. Don't be afraid to go up to a complete stranger and say, "Hey, that snack looks great. Where did you get it?" Okay? Don't be afraid. First up is Gaston's Tavern. That's set between Under the Sea and Beast Castle. I like Gaston's Tavern for a number of reasons. First, it's the LeFou's Brew, which is a non-alcoholic frozen apple juice drink with a passion fruit mango foam. It looks like beer. Your kids will think they're drinking beer. It's tasty. I get it all the time. One of the other favorites we get there is their warm cinnamon bun. Yeah, it's like what you would get at Cinnabon. It's big, it's gooey, it's yummy. Get it. It's very tasty. Next up as a snack, you're going to want to go over to Aloha Island. It's over in Adventureland. It's near the Tiki room. And that's where you get the coveted, the well-loved pineapple Dole Whip. Can you say that slowly? Pineapple Dole Whip. What is that, you ask? Oh, well, that's pretty simple. It's like it's pineapple juice served with, if you're smart, you get it served with pineapple ice cream. You can get it served with vanilla ice cream, or you can get a swirled. It's truly yummy, and people swear by it. Next up is over in the Storybook Circus. Right when you're entering it, you'll see the Big Top. And at the Big Top, you're going to see right in the middle of it, it's the Big Top has like gifts and things to purchase on the outside, and then right in the middle, you're going to find all these delicious snacks. So what we're talking about is you're talking candied apples. They make them right there. Obviously not the apple part, the candy part on the outside. I always get one. There's cake pops. There's chocolate fruit treats. There's marshmallow treats. There's cupcakes. Get something there and enjoy it. Also, if you're smart, you get a snack, and then you go in the back and you wait online to get autographs. So usually usually you're going to find back there the Great Goofini. There's also Daisy Duck is back there. So that's where you're going to go to get some autographs. And finally, my final stop is going to be Sleepy Hollow. That's over basically by the castle, by Cinderella's castle, over in the Liberty Square. And that's where they have delicious waffle sandwiches. There's usually a line, but it's worth it. You know why there's a line? Because it tastes good. And over there, most people swear by the fresh fruit waffle sandwich with Nutella spread. You could even get a breakfast sandwich there. So if you didn't eat breakfast before you got to the park, or you didn't hit the bakery on the way in, that's usually a good place where you can get a snack. So those are my top places to get snacks. There's plenty of other great places to get some snacks, but you're talking Gaston's Tavern, get LeFou's Brew, go over Aloha Island, get the coveted pineapple Dole Whip, and then also you have the Big Top over in Storybook Circus, and where you can get lots of yummy snacks, and finally Sleepy Hollow, where you can get a delicious waffle sandwiches. And that's it. That's episode 5 of Zipadee Doo Dah Disney. You've gone through my favorite places for Magic Kingdom munching. So to summarize, generally speaking, I think there are better sit-down table service dinner options at the hotels near the Magic Kingdom. You could easily walk out, hit a monorail, or walk if you want to eat dinner at the Contemporary. But if you are going to eat dinner at the Magic Kingdom, my go-to spot is the Crystal Palace. For breakfast, if you are going to do a sit-down, it's still the same. It's the Crystal Palace. You could try and get the coveted breakfast over at Cinderella's Castle. But for me, it's breakfast, the Main Street Bakery. Get your Starbucks, get your breakfast, walk around. Lunch, it's definitely Casey's. You could try Beast's Castle. They have a really good lunch. And snacks, it's either you're heading over to Gaston's Tavern or you're getting the coveted Dole Whip over in Adventureland. Finally, and my final tips are, remember, see what everybody else is eating. If you see something and it's not something that normally you would get in the parks, it's probably something special. Don't be afraid to ask somebody, hey, where did you get that? That's how I did it like 6-7 years ago, and I was over in Hollywood Studios, and I got my delicious dark chocolate Darth Vader cupcake. Also, watch your table service and watch table service points and watch your quick service points and snacks when you're there, because they can go away quickly. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going on this ride. I'll be back with episode 6.